Welcome back, everyone. So now we've completed experiment 1 and we're moving on to experiment 2. So going back to the wiki from the same page, we see that experiment 2 is about remapping the damaged buildings in Christchurch, New Zealand, where there was an earthquake in 2011. So we'll click on the link. Gives you a bit of background about the case and why we're going to be mapping those things. It explains that you will be using a few different sources of information this time. So in addition to the crowd map report that you'll be filling out, you'll also need to look at some imagery, which you need an arcgis.com account to view. So you'll get the imagery from here. And the imagery is of, it's basically satellite imagery taken the day of the disaster. So it shows all the damages. So let's go ahead and open that up in arcgis.com just by clicking on it. Very easy. For me, it's very easy because I already have an account. So I haven't signed in, but it's still letting me view the imagery, which is great. So I'm going to zoom in. I know that Christchurch is right around here, so I'll just zoom into the area. So this is the central business district of Christchurch, which is the area we'll be mapping. I'll keep zooming in. I can already see some areas of damage, for example here and here. You can tell because whereas normally the picture is very clear with the outlines of the buildings, in some areas you can see that the building has been totally ruined. Yeah, in a few different places. So, I'm going to keep this window open. I have the imagery, and I know that I also will probably need to use Google Maps. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Christchurch, New Zealand. Pretty much the same area that we zoomed in on in the imagery. I'll keep that open. Go back to the wiki. And we'll also need the report. So now you have all three windows up, but you need to complete the experiment. Go back to the wiki just to see what the instructions are. How to contribute. Here we go. So it lists all the steps in order and it illustrates. So step 1, you'll be using the imagery to identify damaged buildings. You'll be comparing it to imagery that was taken before the disaster, so with the buildings perfectly intact. So you'll have something to compare it to. If you just zoom in to the same area, that would be helpful. It says here that in order to provide more useful geographical information, such as the type of building, what it's used for, or its name, you'll probably have to use Google Maps Street View, which is what we have open. If you want instructions for how to use Street View, just click on that link. You also have some examples of what the different classes of damage look like, because in this report, rather than classifying the type of building, you'll be classifying the extent of damage. So here you have some more examples on how to identify building types. So using this building as an example, which is in a totally different country, you can see if there's damage. I've used Google Street View to make sure that there was damage and what extent it was. And I used all this information to help me fill in the form. So let's go back to the form. Actually, let's go back to the imagery. Let's pick out an area. I'm not too familiar with Christchurch, so I'll just pick any random area. Looks like there's some damage here in one of the main squares. Yeah, there's a lot. So I'll just go ahead and pick this area. So now I have a target building that I want to classify. It's going to be this one. So if I just zoom out to get a general idea of where it is again, so I don't forget, this will help me to identify it again on the other map. So I see that it's here beside this large park area. It's in the central business district, and it was some kind of square. So let's go back to the perfect building map. Let's find that square. So it's near the park. Just zoom out a little bit. I think it's just up over here. Yeah, so I found the area. Looks a little bit different when it's in perfect condition, but what's great about the Bing Maps layer that's used as the map here is that it's labeled. So I have a lot of geographical information here already without even trying to find it. I see the street name, I see the name of the building itself, which pretty much gives me an address, which is the geographical location. So that's great. I also have the coordinates here, so if I just hover my mouse over the location, you'll notice that the coordinates are displayed here. So that is perfect. However, it's this building right here that I want to identify, so I'm going to have to use Google and do a bit of investigating to find out what exactly this building was, unless it's a part of this cathedral. So let's see. First of all, I'll go ahead and start with the report being opened, because that's what I want to do. I'll zoom back into that location. Where was it? There we go. Let's just place it somewhere over here. You can zoom into that little target spot. So we know we want to go to the Cathedral Square, as we saw from the map earlier. So let's just put this mark here, so we can zoom into it. Yeah, there's my exact location. So I have the exact location, which is important because when you identify this on the map, what you don't know is that you are also submitting the coordinates. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a polygon around this building, which I know has been damaged. Double click to finish it off. I'll go ahead and give it some attribute information. First I'll give it a title, which is collapse.